Keith, we've got less than 48 hours to go now. What's the state of play?
Well, the state of play is that we are rapidly approaching the end game here in Durban. Everything's in play. There's a lot of confusion at this stage of the talks, rumour mills flying around, but the basic situation is that we are coming up to the wire. The EU is now really pushing itself forward to say we want to have a second commitment period of the Kyoto Protocol, but only if we get a clear mandate for a new agreement by 2015, to be reached in 2015. And there's a lot of talks flying around. China has begun to make some very interesting moves. We welcome those. They're one of the few big players who've come here and are actually publicly offering to do things more and to start to move the dynamics. We hope that other big countries could do the same. We're afraid that the US has come here with an empty briefcase and has got nothing to offer. We'd like that to be different, but at the moment they're not helping. We want to see all major economies coming here to solve this huge problem. We must remember at the moment we're heading for 4 degrees warming. That is just not acceptable, and this conference cannot ignore the screaming sort of alarm bells coming from the science.
2020 as a date for peak emissions would be catastrophic. 2015 looks difficult to achieve here given the US position. In light of that, do you see the Kyoto Protocol being saved by the EU? How do you see it moving forward?
Well, I think there's two things here. There's firstly about the urgent need to peak global emissions. Right? The current trends that we're on, we're not going to peak until sometime in the middle of the 2020s. That is catastrophic. The science says that we need to peak emissions by around 2015 and get the global emissions on a steep downward path. Can this process alone deliver it? No. Every single country needs to be getting on right now, ramping up the ambition at home. You can't just wait for this process. But there is some interesting text now on the table. There's some really clear ideas for a crunchy process next year to look at the pledges that are on the table, shake them around, work out where they're weakest, how they can be strengthened, and to require particularly industrialised countries whose targets are weak already and riddled with loopholes. It's like Swiss cheese. They need to be really tightened up, and there's a clear process being proposed to close that by the end of next year. We really hope that that is one of the key things that survives these last few hours of negotiations, a clear recognition of the gap and action to deal with it. That's on the emissions trajectory, but we've also got to get the legal outcome, and we really need to get the second commitment period for the Kyoto Protocol. Europe can lead the way on that, and we think that that can and must happen, but there needs to be movement elsewhere in the talks.
And do you see the basic group, Brazil, South Africa, China, India, falling behind the EU position and supporting them in terms of this 2015 deadline?
I think there are a lot of intensive negotiations which are now happening at a very high level in a lot of locked rooms between ministers having some serious sort of talks to each other. Precisely where the dice are going to land, we don't know yet, but there is still everything to play for here. We really hope it can be achieved.
Thanks for speaking to us, Keith.
Thank you.